A poor girl walked up to a millionaire in a hospital where his child had been in a coma for 6 months and said, "I can make your son wake up in 1 month." He laughed, but when he later took her home, he uncovered shocking secrets that turned his life upside down. Did the child ever wake up? What secret did the poor girl reveal? What happened in this epic tale? Let's find out. Welcome to King of Afrotales. Please subscribe to our channel and give this video a thumbs up. It means the world to us. Chief Roland Adeyemi sat in the hospital lobby, motionless, his elbows on his knees, his hands clasped tightly as if he could hold his breaking world together. His head hung low, as though the weight of his thoughts was dragging it to the floor. His chest rose and fell in shallow breaths. It wasn't the air conditioning that made his skin cold. It was the crushing dread in his bones. The words from the doctor's office still echoed in his mind like a cruel recording. "We've done everything we can. He's not responding. His organs are failing. It might be time to prepare yourself." Prepare himself? How does a man prepare for losing his only son? The son who had come like a miracle after 7 years of childlessness, after countless tears, after failed IVF procedures, after watching his wife at Asua crumble into despair month after month. How does a father prepare for that? 7 years. 7 years of accusations from relatives who said he was cursed. 7 years of his mother's voice hissing, "Roland, marry another woman. Don't let this one ruin your lineage." 7 years of shielding Adesua from the venom of in-laws, holding her hand at night when she sobbed quietly into her pillow. And then, Junior. The day Adesua had placed that tiny newborn in his arms, he had believed in miracles again. He had sworn as the child's small fingers curled around his thumb that he would give him everything. Love, protection, the world if possible. Now that world was slipping away in a sterile hospital room. The fall had been minor, they said, a slip on the staircase. No head injury, just a few bruises and a broken arm. But within days, Junior's health had spiraled. Surgeries, complications, and then the coma. For 6 months, Roland had lived between hospital corridors and sleepless nights. He had flown in the best doctors from Sweden, India, Turkey, and the US. Specialists had peered at scans, spoken in heavy medical jargon, and left shaking their heads. And now today the verdict. Only a miracle could save his boy. He closed his eyes and clenched his fists. If Adesua's blood pressure wasn't already dangerous, he might have told her the doctor's exact words. But he couldn't. Not when she was 3 months pregnant again. The thought of losing both her and Junior would destroy him. "God, please," he whispered. His voice broke, the words coming out hoarse. "I don't care about my business, my money. Just let him live." "Sir." The voice was soft but cut through the fog in his mind. Roland lifted his head. Standing in front of him was a young woman, maybe in her mid-20s, dressed simply in Ankara. She didn't look like a doctor or a nurse. Her eyes held an unsettling calm. "Sir," she repeated, "I can make your son recover. I can wake your son up." For a moment, Roland just stared at her. Then he let out a sound. Not quite a laugh, not quite a sob. More like a man cracking under too much pain. He leaned back in the chair and laughed, a low, bitter sound that came from somewhere deep and hollow. It wasn't because her words amused him. No, it was because he had tried everything humanly possible. He had called the best doctors, paid for the best treatments, and yet here was this stranger, looking like one of his housemaids, telling him she could wake Junior up. "Young woman," he said, still shaking his head, "what are you talking about? What do you mean you can make my son recover?" "I know your son has been in a coma for 6 months," she said calmly. "I know the doctors have given up. I know they told you his organs are failing. But I also know something you don't." Roland's eyes narrowed. "And what's that?" "That I can make him recover in 1 month." Silence stretched between them. The hum of the hospital air conditioning was suddenly too loud. He studied her face. "Are you a doctor?" "No." "A nurse?" "No." "A herbal practitioner?" "No, sir." His voice hardened. "Then how did you know about my son's condition? Have the nurses here been gossiping about me? Because if they have, I can sue this hospital for breaching patient-doctor confidentiality. I hope they haven't been going around talking about my son. I will sue this hospital to the ground." "No, sir," she replied. "Nobody told me anything. I saw it in my dreams." Roland stared at her for a moment, then let out a short, cold laugh. "Dreams." He stood, shaking his head. "I don't have time for this rubbish. I guess this is one of those new scams. Finding vulnerable people to extort. Well, young lady, you picked the wrong man." He turned to leave. Her next words froze him mid-step. "Sir, with all due respect, if you leave now, you will never find out the truth, and your son will never recover. In fact, if you don't let me help you, in exactly 1 month, he will die." The hair on Roland's neck stood. He turned slowly to face her. "What did you just say?" "You don't have anything to lose," she continued. "If in 1 month I don't do what I said I would, you can send me away. I don't need your money." He searched her face. "What do you mean my son is going to die in a month? Who are you?" "My name is Dupe," she said, "and I can help your son recover. But you have to listen to every word I tell you. No questions, no arguments. If you do, he will live." Roland's heart thudded in his chest. A part of him wanted to throw her out. Another part, the desperate, exhausted father, clung to her words like a lifeline. He stepped closer, his eyes sharp. "Listen to me, Dupe. I am not the kind of man you can scam. You can ask about me. I, Chief Roland Adeyemi, if I find out you are deceiving me or that you are a fraud, I will not just arrest you. I will arrest everybody connected to you down to your 4th generation. I will throw the key into the Lagos Lagoon and make sure you are wiped off the face of the earth. Do you understand me?" She didn't flinch. She simply bowed her head slightly. "I have said all I want to say, sir. The decision is yours." For a long moment, they just stood there, Roland's mind battling between reason and desperation. Finally, he exhaled slowly. "Okay, I'll discuss this with my wife," he said. "Let's meet here tomorrow by 12. Then I'll tell you what I've decided." He walked out of the lobby, but something in his chest felt strange, like cold water poured over him. There was something about that girl, the way she spoke, the way her eyes didn't waver. As he drove home, his mind kept circling back to her warning. Exactly 1 month. He will die. By the time Chief Roland Adeyemi pulled into the driveway that evening, the sun was sinking, painting the sky in shades of orange and purple. But there was no beauty in his heart, only the heavy weight of a decision he still couldn't believe he was considering. He parked, sat in the car for a moment, and exhaled slowly. Upstairs in their bedroom, Adesua would be waiting, probably watching TV or folding baby clothes for the child she carried. He rehearsed the conversation in his head, already hearing her protests. Finally, he went in. The marble floor was cool under his shoes. Somewhere in the kitchen, pots clanged and the aroma of stew floated faintly. But he barely noticed. He climbed the stairs and found her in the bedroom, propped up on pillows, flicking through TV channels with a distracted expression. "Adesua," he began, his voice low. She glanced up and smiled faintly. "You're back. How was the hospital?" He stepped further into the room and sat on the edge of the bed. "Honey, I met a strange woman today." Her brow furrowed slightly. "Strange how?" "She says..." He paused, almost tasting her reaction before it came. "Tea?" "She says she can help our son recover." Adesua lowered the remote. "Who is she? Is she a doctor?" "No." "A nurse?" "No." "A herbalist?" "No." She blinked at him. Then her eyes widened and her voice rose. "So what is she then? And you're listening to her?" "Roland, so you've fallen for a cheap scam. Are you insane?" He felt the sting in her words but kept his tone steady. "I'm desperate, Adesua. Our son's organs are failing. The doctors have told me only a miracle can save him. I'll try anything at this point." She sat forward, her face darkening. "And the anything is to let a mad woman, a complete stranger, touch my son? No, never." "Why are you so against it?" he asked, genuinely searching her face. "If it works, it's for our good." "I'm against it because I don't want my hopes raised by witchcraft or nonsense," she snapped. I'm pregnant, Roland. Do you want to break me again? I cannot survive another heartbreak. Not now. Roland leaned closer, his voice dropping into a plea. I'm not asking you to believe blindly. I'm asking you to allow one chance, one last chance for our son. No, she shot back instantly. You will not bring any strange woman into this house, especially not near Junior. There was a long, tense silence between them. Outside, the sound of a distant car horn bled into the quiet. Roland's jaw tightened. My decision is final, he said quietly but firmly. If there's even a 1% chance this could save him, I will take it. Her mouth opened as if to argue again, but something in his tone stopped her. Instead, she leaned back, folding her arms, her lips pressed into a hard line. That night, the mansion was wrapped in a cold, heavy quiet. The maids moved like shadows, careful not to clink plates too loudly. Even the ticking of the ornate wall clock seemed sharper, each second echoing in the silence between husband and wife. Roland slept in the guest room. Adesua stayed in their bedroom, her face turned to the wall. By midday, Roland was back at the hospital, the air in the lobby heavy with antiseptic and the faint murmur of voices. Dupe was already there, seated quietly in a corner, her Ankara dress neat, her expression unreadable. He walked straight to her. I've decided, he said. I'll give you a trial, but hear me clearly. If my son doesn't wake up in 3 months, and if my son dies, I will make sure you go with him. I'll make sure you perish with him. Dupe met his gaze without flinching. If you have faith that your son will live, he will live. If you take my instructions, he will live. Then give me the first one, he said. Take him home, she replied simply. This hospital is not safe for him. Roland's eyes widened. Take him home? He's on life support. What will happen if we take him off? Do you know he could die? He's almost dead right now, Dupe said evenly. He's half dead as it is. Those machines are not doing him any good. Take him home. Her certainty rattled him, but the warning from yesterday still clung to him like smoke. Exactly 1 month. He will die. That evening, he told Adesua. She didn't just argue. She exploded. You've finished me, she wailed, collapsing to the floor in dramatic sobs, rolling from side to side. You are listening to a stranger over your own wife? Roland, what is wrong with you? He bent down, trying to take her hands. Adesua, please. This is for our own good. Trust me this time. But she yanked her hands away. Trust you? To bring a witch into my home? You've let her bewitch you already. You want to kill me before this baby comes. Stop it, he said, his voice firm. No one is killing anyone. Junior will come home. This is my decision. She glared up at him through tear-streaked cheeks. I swear, Roland, if anything happens to my son, you will never forgive yourself. Her words lodged in his chest like a blade, but he didn't back down. He turned and walked out, his footsteps heavy on the marble floor. By the end of the week, Junior was discharged. The convoy of nurses and technicians moved through the mansion, setting up his room with machines, drips, and medical supplies. Roland supervised everything personally, ignoring Adesua's scowls from the doorway. And then Dupe arrived. She stepped into the mansion quietly, her small box of belongings in one hand. She greeted everyone respectfully, but Adesua didn't return it. Instead, she watched her like a hawk, her lips tight. From that moment, Dupe's life in the house was made a living hell. Adesua didn't hide her hostility. You! Have you cleaned the upstairs living room? She barked one morning. Yes, Ma, Dupe replied softly. Go and clean it again. And don't use the mop. Use your hands. And after that, go and wash the bed sheets, by hand. I don't want to see the washing machine on. Yes, Mom. Have you cooked the soup I asked for? The vegetable? No? Go and do it now. And don't forget, grind the pepper yourself. I don't want the blender used. The other maids watched silently, sympathy in their eyes, but no one dared speak. Later that day, when Dupe finally served the vegetable soup, Adesua took one bite, spat it dramatically into her napkin, and shot to her feet. Do you want to poison me? She screamed, clutching her belly. It's too salty. You want to kill me and my unborn child so you can snatch my husband. You think I don't know you're a witch? You think I don't know you want to reap where you did not sow? Since you came, my husband no longer listens to me. You've bewitched him." Dupe stepped back, startled. "Ma, I'm sorry. I didn't know the salt was too much. This is the same amount I usually add." The sentence was cut short by a sharp slap that rang through the living room. Dupe fell back onto her buttocks with a thud. At that moment, Roland walked in. His eyes flicked from Dupe on the floor to Adesua standing over her, trembling with rage. "What's happening here?" he asked. "Can you imagine this girl?" Adesua cried. "She tried to poison me." "Poison you? How?" "The food she cooked, the salt was too much." Roland turned to Dupe. "Why did you add too much salt?" "I'm sorry, sir," Dupe said quietly, "but it's the same amount I've always used. You can taste it yourself." He did. It was fine. He looked at Adesua, but said nothing. She glared at him. "So you can't defend your pregnant wife? Are you planning to marry her as a second wife? Are you planning to make her overthrow me in this house?" Roland's jaw clenched. He turned and walked away without a word. In the bathroom, he shut the door, trying to calm the boiling in his chest. But the thought gnawed at him. Why is she so desperate to make this girl leave? That evening, after the soup poisoning incident, Roland remained quiet and calm, but his mind was a storm. He moved through the mansion like a shadow, present, breathing, but far away. Every step echoed the memory of Adesua's outburst, the slap ringing in the living room, the accusation that Dupe wanted to poison her with salty vegetable soup. He told himself it had to be pregnancy hormones, that the pressure and fear were twisting her, but the explanation sat in his chest like a lie too small to cover a wound too large. Adesua did not let the evening breathe. She hovered. She complained about the curtains not falling right, about the way a maid folded the towels, about Dupe's footsteps making noise on tiles that had swallowed heavier feet in silence. When Roland rose to leave the living room, she followed him down the corridor, her voice taut and sharp. "You can't defend me?" she flared, eyes wet, chin lifted in challenge. "You can't stand up for your own wife in your own house? Since that girl came, you don't hear me anymore. Are you planning to marry her as second wife? Is that what this is?" Roland turned softly toward her, refusing to feed the fire. "You're not the woman I married," he said, voice low, steady. "It's like you're hiding something." Her nostrils flared. "Hiding what, Roland? Hiding what?" She spat the words, then pivoted, slippers slapping angrily down the corridor as she disappeared into the bedroom. He stepped into the guest toilet and closed the door. For a long time, he stood with his palms flat against the wood, head bowed, breathing in, out, until the anger in his chest thinned to ache. He washed his face. The water was cold and honest. In the mirror, his eyes looked older than last month. He went upstairs and stood in Junior's doorway. The room smelled of antiseptic and lavender oil. Machines hummed like a distant tide. Junior lay still, eyelids quiet, a small plane of calm in a house bristling with noise no one could hear. Roland sat on the edge of the bed and held his son's hand. "I'm here," he whispered. "I'm not leaving you." He pressed his lips to the back of the boy's fingers, then rose and left before his voice broke. The house settled into a brittle night. The maids patted like ghosts, careful not to scrape a plate. Even the ornate wall clock seemed to swallow its tick, as if the mansion itself feared to be accused. By morning, the air between husband and wife was thin and fragile. They spoke in practical syllables. "Breakfast. Nurse is coming. Call the driver." But beneath the words ran a current Roland could feel tugging at his ankles, unseen and insistent. The following week, on a morning humming with heat, he was just about to kickstart his car and drive out of the compound when he saw Dupe approaching the driveway, steps small, hands clasped. She stopped by his window and bowed slightly. "Sir, there's something I'd like to discuss with you." He glanced at the house, then back at her. "What is it, Dupe? Is Madam still giving you problems?" Dupe gave a small, tired smile. "That one is a little thing, sir. I have had worse." Roland paused, glancing around. "Then what is it, Dupe?" She stepped closer, her eyes scanning the compound to make sure no one was within earshot. "Please install small secret cameras in the house, especially in Junior's room." Roland frowned. Cameras? Why? Her voice dropped even lower. Because his life is in danger, sir. The words hit him like a slap. What do you mean? From who? What are you talking about? Dupe hesitated, her eyes troubled. I can't say now. Just please, sir, do it as soon as possible. Watch the footage yourself. You'll understand. Roland studied her face. There was no fear in her eyes, only deadly seriousness. Dupe, you're scaring me. Is someone trying to hurt my son? Sir, she said firmly, just trust me. Do it. She stepped back and gave a quick nod, then walked away toward the servants' quarters, leaving Roland frozen beside his car, his mind spinning. At work that day, he couldn't concentrate. Dupe's words kept replaying in his head like an echo he couldn't silence. His life is in danger. Watch the footage yourself. What could she possibly mean? And why the secrecy? By the next morning, Roland had made up his mind. He told Adesua they should go out together for a drive. A casual outing, nothing serious. She looked surprised but agreed. While he was out with her, a team of technicians quietly entered the house under his instructions. They worked quickly, installing small, well-hidden cameras in key locations. The living room, the hallways, and most importantly, Junior's bedroom. Every angle was covered, every detail ready to be recorded. By the time Roland and Adesua returned, everything looked exactly the same. But now the house had eyes. Every evening after the cameras were installed, Chief Roland Adeyemi followed the same ritual. He would greet the guards at the gate with a nod, step into the mansion with a tired smile for the staff, kiss Junior on the forehead, and then disappear into his home office under the pretense of finishing up some documents. He would shut the door softly, pull down the blinds halfway, open his system, and bring the house to life on a grid of silent squares. He checked the monitors, checked the hidden cameras, rewound, fast-forwarded, watched again. He wanted to see everything that had happened while he was away. Everything in the corridors, everything in the kitchen, and most especially everything in Junior's room. The first day, nothing unusual, just the slow drip of the IV, Dupe sitting by Junior with a bowl of warm water, wiping his hands, combing his hair, reading psalms in a soft whisper. Adesua passed the door twice, phone pressed to her ear, face drawn and unreadable. The nurse did a routine check, changed a bag, wrote something in a small notebook, and left. The second day, he saw it again. Ordinary movements in ordinary rooms. Adesua paused by the balcony and watched nothing for a long time. Dupe mopped the corridor, stopped at Junior's door and whispered, "Good morning, Pumpkin," as if the house itself might shush her. The nurse came in late morning, smiled at a maid, and walked straight to Junior's bedside with practiced calm. Nothing screamed at him, nothing yet. By the third day, a pattern began to itch under his skin. The nurse, Kemi Afolayan, always came at roughly the same time, always with the same small bag. She greeted the staff sweetly, nodded at Adesua, and closed Junior's door behind her. As soon as she entered, Adesua would drift in too, hovering near the drip stand. They would whisper in the corner, heads close, mouths barely moving, and as if on cue, Dupe would be sent away on an errand. "Dupe, go and check the generator. Dupe, go to the store and confirm the pepper I bought. Dupe, go to the market, now, before traffic starts." It was always when Kemi arrived. It was always when the door had to be closed. And it was always when Junior lay still as a prayer, breathing because the machines told him to. Roland leaned closer to the monitor the first time he saw Kemi's hand do something that wasn't part of changing a bag. She slipped a small dark brown vial from her pocket, half covered by her palm, attached a syringe, and pushed liquid into the IV line with the quiet confidence of routine. When she finished, she didn't put the vial back in her bag, and she didn't hand it over to anyone. She walked into the kitchen, looked around, and dropped it into the waste bin. He stared, frozen. Then he scrubbed back the footage, slow motion, frame by frame. The same movement, the same vial, the same drop into the same bin. On the fourth day, his unease hardened. Again the whispering in the hallway. Again Dupe sent away. Again the small vial, the quick draw, the push into the line. the kitchen, the bin. He wanted to tell himself it was vitamins, nutrients, antibiotics, anything the doctor might have added to Junior's plan without telling him. He wanted to believe he was overthinking it, but his spirit rejected the lie. There was a stone in his chest where peace should have been. That night he waited until the house settled. The corridor lights dimmed. A maid yawned into her palm and disappeared. The kitchen was quiet except for the small click of the standing clock. He slipped in, pulled a pair of disposable gloves from the drawer beneath the sink, and opened the bin. The smell of onion skins and stew bones curled up at him. He sifted through the top layer carefully, lifting plastic, paper, a torn sachet of salt. Then his gloved fingers touched glass. He brought it out, a small brown bottle with a silver cap. Label partly peeled. No clear name, no easy comfort. His breath thickened. In his mind, he heard Dupe's voice. Install cameras. Junior's life is in danger. In his ears, he heard his own heartbeat. He wrapped the vial and the syringe he found with it in tissue paper, slid both into a Ziploc bag, and tucked it into the inside pocket of his jacket. He hid the bag in the safest drawer in his office, the one only he had the key to, and sat there staring at it for a long time, as if the plastic might confess its contents if he stared hard enough. He called his doctor. "Doctor, what is the name of the injection that Nurse Kemi always injects my son every day?" His voice was steady. Only his knuckles, white on the phone, betrayed the strain. Dr. Tunde Olatunji sounded distracted at first, then interested. "It's just nutrients and some vitamins to keep his body going. And some antibiotics too. Nothing special. Nothing out of the ordinary. Something to keep his body functioning." "Really?" Roland said quietly. "Because I found one strange bottle." He spelled out what he could make of the faded label. On the other end, silence. Then, "That doesn't sound like anything on Junior's chart. Send it to the hospital. Let's take a look." He drove at once. The road a ribbon he barely noticed. The hospital corridors smelled colder at night. He handed over the Ziploc to Dr. Tunde. The doctor lifted the items with tweezers, his brow furrowing. "What we are administering to Junior is just vitamins and some antibiotics," Dr. Tunde murmured, eyes scanning. "I don't even know what this is. I don't know what it contains." "Well, this is not among the approved medications for Junior." Roland's jaw clenched. "Doctor, I found out that Nurse Kemi injects Junior with this injection every day. I saw it through the CCTV footage." The doctor looked up sharply. Surprise, then anger flashed across his face. Why would Nurse Kemi administer drugs that are not approved by the doctor to a patient? Why would she administer an injection not on the chart? There was only one way to answer. "We'll send this to the lab," Dr. Tunde said, already pressing the call button. "Immediate analysis. We'll also send samples to 2 other labs for confirmation. We'll have the results in 3 days." Roland nodded. 3 days sounded like forever. He drove home on autopilot. His heart was bothered. Sleep fled from him like a guilty thing. Most of the night he sat in his office, the feeds open, the squares throwing soft light across his face. He watched Junior breathing. He watched his wife move from room to room, phone glued to her ear, making calls that seemed to end the moment footsteps sounded behind her. He watched her and Kemi talking in the corridor, cryptic, tight, heads bent close. He watched the day he had not lived unfold at 2 a.m. He watched everything, and the watching made his doubt grow teeth. It all started coming together. How Adesua had kicked against Dupe entering the house. How she had made Dupe's life a living hell with petty chores and cruel commands. How she always sent Dupe away whenever the nurse arrived. How the minor fall had become a coma. How every whisper seemed to happen just out of Dupe's hearing. The facts aligned like beads on a wire, trembling with a truth he didn't want to name. He fought himself. Junior is our son. She is his mother. She would never harm him. He pressed that thought to his chest like a bandage, but it couldn't stop the bleeding. 3 days later, his phone rang while he was in a meeting. "Chief Roland, can you come to the hospital? The test results for that injection are out." His stomach dropped. "Doctor, can't you tell me what it is over the phone? Or send it to my email?" "No," Dr. Tunde said, voice flat. "I need you to come down to the hospital. It is very serious." This is not what we can discuss on the phone." He ended the meeting mid-sentence, left the boardroom without apology, and drove faster than he had in months. His hands were steady on the wheel. His mind was chaos. When he reached the hospital, he went straight to Dr. Tunda's office. Inside, the doctor sat with the chief lab scientist, Mr. Kalapofashina, a serious man with kind eyes. The vial and syringe lay on a steel tray between them, like criminals awaiting sentence. Roland sat down, worry hanging on him like a wet coat. "Doctor, what is the matter? What was so important you couldn't discuss over the phone?" Dr. Tunda lifted the bottle with a gloved hand. "Mr. Roland, where did you say you got this injection and this syringe from again?" Roland swallowed. "Doctor, I told you before. This is the injection Nurse Kimmy has been injecting Junior. I saw it through the CCTV. I can access it through my phone. I picked this from our kitchen waste bin." The doctor leaned back and sighed deeply. Mr. Kolapo set his hand on his head for a moment, then dropped it with a tired exhale. "My goodness," he murmured. "How can this happen?" Roland's voice hardened. "What is going on? What is happening, doctor? What is the matter?" Dr. Tunda gestured toward the scientist. "Our chief med scientist will explain." Mr. Kalapo folded his hands. "Mr. Roland," he began, and his voice had no softness in it now, only truth. "This drug is used for dogs. It is used for treating infections in dogs, for treating rabies in dogs. If it is injected into a human being in small quantities, it may be undetectable in routine checks, but the side effect is lethal. It causes gradual organ failure, internal organ failure, and if administered over a long period of time, it can cause death." The world tilted. For a heartbeat, Roland heard nothing but the thunder in his ears. His phone slipped from his palm and hit the carpet with a dull thud. "What did you just say?" His voice was small and distant, as if it came from the far end of a tunnel. He looked at Dr. Tunda. "Doctor, what did he say?" "I am as shocked as you are," Dr. Tund said quietly. "We sent this sample to multiple labs. The results all came back the same. It is medicine for dogs, not for human beings. In humans, it can cause gradual internal organ failure and death. I don't understand why Kemi, she's one of our trusted nurses, would want to harm your son. I have already spoken to the board members in this hospital, and we are ready to take legal action against her." "Thank you," Roland said, though gratitude was the last thing he felt. For 5 minutes, he said nothing else. He just sat there sweating, hearing his own heartbeat in his ears like drums at a funeral. When he finally found his voice, it was steadier than he felt. "Don't do anything yet. I want to find out everything by myself. There is something going on under my roof, and I want to be the one to uncover it. I'll tell you when to step in. For now, please, say nothing." He staggered out of the office, found his car, and sat inside with the door closed. He cried there, a quiet, shaking grief, the kind that burns and freezes at the same time. Who would want to hurt my son? Why would the nurse want to hurt him? What is this conspiracy? He wiped his eyes with the heel of his hand, started the engine, and drove home. Was his wife aware? Were they in this together? Why would Adesua, after 7 barren years, after tears and failed IVFs, and prayers that scraped the heavens, why would she hurt the child that came like rain after drought? It didn't make sense. It couldn't make sense. And yet the facts had their own logic, and logic can be cruel. He called a secure number. "I need you to discreetly gather your men in my compound tomorrow. Flood the place by 10 a.m. Plain clothes. Be very discreet. There's something I want to find out first." "Yes, sir." He ended the call, dried his face with a tissue, and walked into the mansion. In the living room, Adesua sat watching TV, laughing at a joke, chin cracking between her teeth. She looked up with an easy smile. "Honey, you're back." He forced a smile that didn't reach his eyes and went straight to his office, locked the door, and sat with the cameras until the night had nothing left to give him. He did not sleep. He watched. He waited. Morning came bruised. He didn't go to work. Adesua found him in the living room nursing a glass of water. "Honey, are you not going to work today?" "No," he said, voice flat. "I have a headache. I want to rest at home today." Really? You have a headache? Should I call the hospital? Do you want the driver to take you? No, I'm okay. I just want to rest at home. She studied him a beat longer than normal. Don't you have important meetings? Why do you want to stay at home? Just go to the hospital and get tested. He looked at her and something inside him sat up. Was she trying to get him out of the house? Maybe I'm being paranoid, he told himself, but the thought didn't leave. He straightened. I don't want to go to work today. This is my house. I can stay at home whenever I like. I'm not going to work. I want to be with my son today. I have missed him. I want to spend some time with him. It's fine, she said too quickly. Rest. It wasn't up to 30 minutes later when the doorbell rang. The nurse came. Chief Rowland was already in his office, the live feeds open. He watched the wife meet the nurse in the corridor. He watched their heads bend together, whispering, urgent, thin smiles pasted on. He watched Dupe in the kitchen, slicing vegetables, eyes on the blade, steady. He watched his son asleep, the machine counting breaths like a metronome for hope. The nurse entered Junior's room and closed the door. Rowland saw her hands in the top corner camera, the one tucked above the wardrobe. He saw her unzip the bag, draw out the small vial, attach the syringe. He saw Adesua standing deliberately near the door, blocking the angle to the corridor, her body a shield for secrets. He felt the blood rise in him like a tide he could not command. He stood. He walked fast. By the time he reached the corridor, he was running. He burst into Junior's room, the door slamming against the wall. Hello, Nurse Kemi. How are you? His voice was calm, polite, the kind of calm that frightened. Kemi stammered, eyes blown wide. I'm fine, sir. I'm fine, sir. What are you doing? He asked, as if this were a normal check, as if he had not seen the future in a small brown bottle. I want to administer some vitamins to Junior, she said, avoiding his eyes. Really? Some vitamins? He took a step closer. Let me see. Let me see the kind of vitamins you want to administer. Kemi started fidgeting. Her hands shook. No, you don't have to see it, sir. It's the injection the doctor prescribed. Let me just administer it and go. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't need to. Let me see the injection you want to give my son. I have the right to ask what you are administering to my son, don't I? Silence swelled. Adesua's mouth opened, then closed. Rowland took another step forward, steady, inexorable. Kemi's eyes darted to the door, then to the syringe in her hand, then to his face. Panic cracked through her composure. She made a small sound in her throat. Then, like a puppet whose strings had been cut, she dropped the injection and the syringe. Both clattered, skittered, rolled under the bed, and she bolted. She shot past Roland, tore through the hallway, flew across the living room, and ran outside. Hair loose, breath ragged, shoes slapping hard against tile and stone. She thought escape would save her. She thought the compound would open and swallow her into the street. What she didn't know was that the policemen were already there. Plainclothes officers ringed the compound like a closing fist. At the gate, two more stepped into her path. One lifted a hand. Nurse Kemi Afolayan, he said, voice calm as a blade. Stop right there. This is not the end. If you have enjoyed watching this story up to this point, please give this video a thumbs up and type part 2 in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe if you still haven't done so by now. See you in the next one.